Greetings YouTube, Khundes here, and welcome to a short, hopefully tutorial playthrough of Europa Universalis IV. We are currently in patch 1.25.1, and I do possess all of the DLCs, but we'll assume that you possess neither and will move accordingly. In this playthrough, I also highly encourage you, if you wish to learn the game, to go along with what I'll be doing as much as possible, and hopefully things that are missing will become clear. I will keep it as simple as possible, and I will explain to the best of my ability every single mouse click, every single action I do, and for maximized learning experience, I really do highly emphasize that you follow along and do what I will be doing in this playthrough. So let's begin. First, we want to go in single player, because that's what we'll be doing, obviously. And for this playthrough, we'll be using the Ottomans. The Ottomans are a particularly easy country to play as, in part because they are extremely powerful and they have no strong natural enemies early on, so they are relatively safe. They're not invincible, no country in EU4 is, but they are fairly strong early on, which makes them ideal for at least a somewhat safe learning experience. Note that to select a country, you simply click on it. In EU4 you can play as any nation, you can just click on the country and you'll select it and the map just keeps scrolling. It's crazy. So many countries. But the Ottomans. Click on the Ottomans, and once you feel ready, click play. Let's begin. We will be playing normal. It doesn't really fully matter. Iron Man is for when you are confident a bit more in what you're doing and want to properly challenge yourself with the game's achievements. But we're not doing that for now. We are simply learning. So let's play normal Ottomans. The game initializes. Takes a little bit of time. Not that much. And when it is done, we may begin expanding and creating an empire as the Ottomans. Now, I heard a sound, but I assumed it was done initializing already. Okay, now, there's a nice little pop-up explaining everything about who the Ottomans were historically, about how their religion works, about how their government works, and about the, I guess, environment around where they are, or the environment where you are begins, as well as all of the DLCs I have. You guys will have probably a lot of things that are different, but for now, feel free to read this at your leisure. It is mostly flavor, and it is beyond the scope of this tutorial. Now, as we introduce ourselves to the game, we are greeted with this screen here. It says paused at the top. There's a lot of icons, there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of text everywhere. It's a little bit overwhelming. So let's go for the absolute simplest activity in EU4. We're going to declare a war, and we are going to conquer territory. And in doing so, we are also, of course, going to win a war. So who shall our first target be? The simplest option, as we are the Ottomans, which is both Anatolia and most of Greece, would be to properly connect our territories. There is this nation in here, Byzantium, that owns Constantinople and two other provinces down here. And so, it would only be right that we conquer them, and of course Constantinople is often known as the city of the world's desire. It makes sense that we want it. And so, we can click on Constantinople, the province of Constantinople rather, which pulls up a province view, which gives us all of the information we need and then some about this province of Constantinople. Its state, in terms of population and resources, who owns it, its culture and active religion or primary dominant religion, whether or not it owns a fort, and all sorts of information, that I highly encourage you to mouse over in your own leisure and read. There's a lot to gather, but for now, we only care about the diplomacy button. So if we click on the diplomacy button, we get brought up to the option to conduct diplomacy with Byzantium, who is also an empire. Notice that the Declare War button is currently grayed out. It says that we must wait until December 11th, 1444 to declare any wars. So for now, we will close this screen and look at the time. In the upper right corner, we are currently November 11th, 1444, so we want a month to pass. To let the month pass, we could simply unpause this. See, there's a big pause button in the upper right corner. If you click it, time will flow. In EU4 plays essentially as a real-time game, but in a sense that everything is computed in terms of days, so it's real time once you unpause, but it's kind of turn-based in the way that you can pause at any point if things go by too fast. So without further ado, let's unpause. We're gonna unpause. Time moves very, very slowly. We're at speed 1. There's 5 different speeds. Oh, something happens. In the game, many kind of things will happen like this. For now, something happened with France. Apparently, we should care about the surrender of Maine. But I'm just gonna click OK and disregard it, for it's irrelevant to us. One thing we can do, as I was saying, is time moves very slowly, so we can change the speed and go say to speed 2, which will make time flow a bit faster. Our goal is to reach December 11th. Things happen at the start of each month, which is why you just heard some kind of clack, because we've just gained some money. And a few other things replenish themselves in the month. So we're at December 11th, so we're going to pause again. And now that we are paused, if we click on Constantinople again, and the diplomacy button again, declare war is no longer grayed out, which means we can click on it. If we click on it, it tells us, like, absolutely nothing. It says that we have no casus belli. There's a really big red number with aggressive expansion, and because we have no casus belli, it says stability -2. This is generally a terrible idea. And for this purpose, and for the purpose of this tutorial, we will not do a terrible idea. We don't want to engender terrible, terrible habits in new players now, do we? So we need this thing called a casus belli, which is Latin for cause of war, or rightful cause, something along these lines. I'm not entirely sure. So once again, we're gonna cancel our declaration of war, and instead, we want a reason to go to war with Byzantium that will allow us to take Constantinople, because not all casus bellis are created equal. And the simplest casus belli, in this case, is featured in covert actions. So we're gonna click on covert actions to open the menu and get, like, bombarded with buttons. There's a lot of buttons, but we don't care about most buttons. The one that we want is fabricate claims. We want to tell the entire world that Constantinople belongs to the Ottoman Empire. But once again, we cannot click this because it says that our spy networks need to be at least size 20. So we need a spy network is what we're saying. So we're going to see here, build spy network, which is available. So we're going to click on build spy network, and it gives us a bunch of information about our spy network. But for now, we can disregard it and just click confirm. And now if you go back to the upper right, you'll see in your diplomat section, one of your diplomats is currently says 0.00, and it's building a spy network. This means this diplomat will over time accrue a spy network. We want to get it to 20, which, according to the tooltip, will get 1.49 every month, which will take a little bit of time. So for now, we're going to unpause again, and we're going to let our spy network accrue. We're going to bump up the speed to 4, because it's going to take like at least a year or 2 of game time. Of course, if you knew what you were doing, you could have started this spy network on November 11th, but I wanted to show you guys this. So we're going to say damnation, and a bunch of stuff are happening, and we're going to not care about any of these things. Because there's a lot of pop-ups. I recommend you read these tooltips, and you feel free to internalize or explore them and internalize what they mean, and see whether or not you want to interact with them. For now, we are only at 7.45. A lot of people joining trade leagues. This may not happen to you guys, because I believe this is part of one of the DLCs, so feel free to completely disregard this. We are at 10.43. It's only going to take a little bit longer. And sometimes, this is actually perfect. This is what I was hoping would happen for this tutorial. Sometimes, we will get these random events. They will have a name, they will have a large amount of flavor text explaining what the event represents, and we'll represent it with options, sometimes one, usually more than one. And now here, this event is called the Risks of Trade, and I can either compensate the traders because something happened to them, according to the lore, or I can ignore the traders and just say they knew what they were getting into, and then it makes, in my case, my merchant guilds unhappy, which again, if you don't have any DLC, the merchant guilds are not even a thing you'll get to interact with. They're part of, I believe, Rights of Man? I'm not entirely sure. For now, I will dismiss my traders. And we're going to keep waiting for this. And these icons, actually, it's actually a good time to explain them. These pop-ups have 3 colors, and now that we have a third one, it's perfect for us for the explanation. Green pop-ups are things that are, like, you may want to be aware of this, but it's not important in general. Yellow pop-ups are, you should care about this, it's probably having adverse effects on your country, but ultimately it's, like, not crucial. And red is extremely important to pay attention as fast as possible in most cases. In this case, it says we have too few rivals, but we're going to ignore it because we don't care about rivals yet. It's a level... Hey, another event. This is an event you guys would actually probably get. And in this case, local fortification expert has been discovered. I can either have him become an advisor I can employ, which I recommend you look into advisors later, or let him stay at home, which makes the province of Salonik be a little more defended. So I'm going to let him stay home. And we're now February 1st, 1446. Our spy network is at 20.58, which is above the threshold of 20 that it was showing us, which means we may now fabricate a claim. So we're going to click on Fabricate a Claim, and we are presented with all 3 of Byzantium's provinces. There are restrictions on what you can fabricate claims on. If it doesn't show up in the list, it means you cannot fabricate a claim on it. But in our case, we can fabricate a claim on all 3 of these provinces. Of course, the only one we really want is Constantinople. So we're going to select Constantinople, and it tells us what it will cost us to fabricate a claim on Constantinople. And we're going to select OK. And now, it tells us we now have a claim on Constantinople. While Byzantium might be suspicious of the documents we've produced, it's still enough to justify war if we so wish. Okay. And now, we're going to close back Convert Actions. I usually don't close these up, but for the tutorial, I'm going to close it up for you guys, because all we care about now is Declare War. So we're going to click on Declare War, and you see it is not there yet. There is still no Casus Belli. There's a reason for this. Casus Bellis are refreshed every month. So we're going to unpause. Oh, not even. It refreshes when we get this event. So now it has refreshed. I'm also going to lower the speed down to 2 because we're about to go to war again. We're about to go to war. And at war, a lot of things happen. It plays like an RTS in a way. So we're going to select Declare War again. And now see we have a Casus Belli. It says Conquest. And it's for Take Constantinople. So we'll select this. It says our war goal is to take Constantinople. And it gives us like the costs and the aggressive expansion and all of the stuff. Most notably, and it is something that you guys might not have, but I have it, is enemy allies. Athens will always come, because Athens, in this case, is actually a vassal of Byzantium, which means it essentially is a puppet of Byzantium, so it essentially obeys Byzantium's whims. Serbia, on the other hand, is not such a state. It is considered an ally. I did not explain alliances, but it is indeed one of the main features of EU4 that you should look into after this tutorial is over, when you feel ready to try your hand at diplomacy a little. Right now I'm ignoring all of diplomacy. We just want to go to war and take land. So we're gonna have our Casus Belli, accept that Serbia will join, and this will make the war a bit different from me versus you guys. But in either case, this is still a war that is eminently winnable without any effort. Provided you know what you're doing. And this is what, here, things will start being different, very different for you guys than for me, because enemy troop movements might be a little different. So we're going to confirm. And now we are toward Byzantium. You can notice that everything he has done, everything, like his troops and his boats have turned red, which means they are now hostile to our green armies. Which means now we should move armies. Notice Athens' army is also red. And Serbia, we don't see in the heartland of his country because of fog of war, but he also has an army in there. It is also red, if he accepts the call, which I believe because it's still the day I sent the call, he's not joined yet, but he will join within a day or two. So we wish to attack Byzantium. We have 2 armies. We have a 15k army, which is 15,000 men, and we have a 13k army. For the most part, you can assume that bigger numbers are better at the start of the game. This stops being true over time for a plethora of reasons. Combat gets extremely complicated, but at the start of the game, you can just assume that bigger numbers is better. So we're going to take our 15, I call it a 15 stack, which is a 15,000 troops. And you can just draw a box over it, or you can click on it. To deselect an army, you can click anywhere outside of it. You can select the province by clicking on it. But we just want to select the army, so you can click on the bar or your shield to select the army. And when it's selected, there's a little circle around it. So, once our army is selected, we're going to right-click on the province of Constantinople to tell our army that we want to invade this province, and see a little tooltip tells us that a battle will begin between the Ottomans and Byzantium on March 8, 1446. That is how long it'll take our army to get there. While we do that, we'll take our second army, the army in Salonik, and we will order it to march to Athens. Now we will unpause. And I will pause again briefly, for if you pay attention... Oh, never mind. Never mind, it hasn't happened yet. I expect something to happen. Ah, there we go, it happened. If you see, Athens has a little star over his number. This means he has a leader leading his army. Our armies both have no leader. We're going to rectify this. So we're going to pick our 15 stack, our main army as it is in this case. And we're going to see if you select an army, you have like a huge menu that pops up again. The only button we care about here is the no leader pop-up thing. So we're going to click on it. And here it says we already have a general. This guy is historical. His name is Hadim Sehabedin. I probably butchered his name. I apologize. And he has a bunch of stats. For now, we won't care about the stats too much, but know that bigger is always better in these stats. The most important one at the start of the game is the shock, which is the lightning bolt. So we're going to click on Hadim Sehabedin. And now he is leading our primary army. See, we have 2 stars that appeared over our army, which means we have a moderately talented general leading this army. And for the second army, it would be nice to have a leader here as well. So we're going to click here. And now Hadim Sehabedin is already assigned. So he cannot lead both armies at once. So if we want a second army, we have 2 options. We can either spend some points that we have up there to get a general, or we can turn our ruler into a general. I usually don't advise doing this, unless your ruler is really bad, because it makes it more likely that your ruler will die, something that will be important the more you start playing. But for now, let's simply click on recruiting a random general. And now it tells us a bunch of stuff, and we can give him a name, and it's all nice, and I'm going to say OK. And you can see that he has like a lot less values than Hadim Sehabedin. But at least he's a general. He's better than not having a general. So he'll help our troops fight a bit better. So I'm going to click on him, and now he leads the second army. You guys will definitely roll way different generals here, so things will start to get wildly different as well. Notice that there are boats also. Boats can also be selected and move. So I'm going to take our boats. We have 2 fleets. They are currently separated. I don't think it matters. So I like to click this button here, which is to merge our fleets. That way we'll have only a single fleet. So I'm going to merge our fleets. And then we can send it out at sea to face the Byzantine fleet. So we can right-click on the sea tile and send our fleet out from port so it can fight the Byzantine fleet. And now we are ready to unpause again. Let's fight this war. Whoops, I moved. You can move the camera by having the cursor hit the sides of the screen. So let's unpause. And now, as we can see, our boats ran into his boats and already sank a boat. That was a really quick battle. Barely too quick, and I clicked through the pop-up really quickly to dismiss it, which I apologize about that. It's like old habits that die hard. But let's look at the most interesting thing. Our army is currently at war with the Byzantine army for the Battle of Constantinople. As you can see, we have our armies arrayed in a specific way, and their army is down here. Morale is essentially how willing your troops are of remaining in battle. The lower morale army will be forced to shatter and retreat. And if it shatters and retreat fast enough, instead it will be simply completely destroyed, which we call stack wiped. So yes, that is essentially as it is. Each battle alternates between several phases. There's the shock phase and there's the fire phase, which is why Like there's two different values on the general, like there's the guns and the lightning bolt. The shock is the lightning. Early game, shock is king. So I can go back to unpausing, and you can see that every phase we roll dice, and the numbers are tallied and essentially affect. And oh, here, you can see that I actually, like, in the Battle of Constantinople, I have deleted 6,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry. This was a stack wipe. I've won the battle quickly enough that his army just could not muster a way to rearrange itself and to retreat. So we simply destroyed the Byzantine army. So we're going to click OK. And apparently there was another naval battle where we also sank 3 galleys of belonging to Athens. So we're going to say OK to both of these things. And now, here you can see Serbia has an 8 stack that is coming towards us. He's moving to Braničevo, which is... where is it exactly? I know he's going back to over here. Athens' army, however, we did not hit. It moved away. And now it's going to Yanya. If you hover over it, you can see we'll arrive in Yanya in 2 days. Now, we probably want to destroy Athens' army. So we're going to take our 13 stack and we're going to go and kill it. And the Byzantine army was completely destroyed, so he'll probably need to rebuild his army. I will explain building an army later, or maybe in a different video. For now, all we care about is winning the war, and we can win with our current means. So let's unpause. Notice that now we have an army on Constantinople that is besieging it. The province is not ours. So we want to win this. Oh hey, another naval battle. So we want to win this siege. We need to possess this province in order to win our war. For this is our war goal. Oh, pause for a second. Seems there's a lot of boats that just gathered here. I don't like what I'm seeing. So, I'm going to select my fleet. And I am going to order it to go back to port. So it is in battle, and there is no white flag here, which means it is now safe for it to retreat. I will right-click on Cossacks and order a retreat, which means I lose this battle, but that way I do not lose boats. So I'm going to click OK. I do not expect Serbia's boats to come. Again, you guys may or may not have Serbia's navy to deal with. Our 13 stack missed the Athens army, which is now trying to escape me. And it's probably trying to rendezvous with the Serbian army. So we're going to pursue them. Now if you see I clicked on it and it's not showing the swords icon, which means that I'm not going to catch up to him. So he's going to escape, so I'm going to try to pursue him instead. And unpause. And keep explaining sieges. Sieges, essentially, require you to, like, convince the defenders to surrender the fort. And every phase, like, there's this bar that builds up, like this circle in this case, but it's displayed as a bar here that builds up. And every time it's full, it rolls a dice to see how the siege goes. Nothing might happen, or we might make progress. So far, we have made no progress, which is, for now, okay. Our army never caught up to Athens' army, so we're gonna chase him down a little. And meanwhile, the siege is ongoing, so we'll have one army that will leave on Constantinople to win the siege, and one army to try to fight Athens. Athens and Serbia. Now, interestingly enough, Serbia has a fort, as does Byzantium, like down here. These are forts. We have another event. I'm going to ignore it for now. But the forts have a special rule with them. Now, notice that Nice does not have a fort, whereas Constantinople does. And Constantinople has a fort that is level 3. At the start of the game, it means that it's a capital with a castle built on it. So this is like much harder to capture than either a regular fort, which is only fort level 2, or a capital, which is only fort level 1. And a province like Nice, which has no fort, simply needs to be occupied. So we're going to unpause, and you can see like it says 100% because this is not a siege. This is merely an occupation. Well, we keep waiting for this to make some progress. Nice will now fall. And now you can see this is what it looks like when we occupy a province, or when we'll conquer Byzantium later. There'll be some stripes on it as well. This means this province currently is under our control, so they do not get any taxes or any benefits from this province, for it belongs to us. We don't get much from it either, because it's occupied. It's not actually like our land in any measure. That said, we still want to deal with the Serbian army, so I'm going to right-click on it. If you notice, we are bending around instead of going straight. That is because there's a fort here. Forts are somewhat complicated in their functioning, in the sense that when you enter a province in a fort's range, you can only go to the fort or move back out of the range of the fort. Not like stay in the range of the fort. So in order to go to Branicevo, I have to exit the fort's range by going through Vidin, and then re-enter the fort's range by going on Branicevo. Each fort has a range of 1 province, so each province that touches Smederevo is protected by this fort. So we're gonna chase this army. Let's unpause again. Let's go up to speed 3, because this war might take a while. Otherwise. Oh, there will be a battle. We are catching their armies. And there's another event that happens. And here you can see a battle. We have decimated them. This is a disaster, but here you can see we did not stack wipe them, so their army is now retreating. And our leader gained a trait apparently, which is pretty cool. You can see that Constantinople now has 1 progress. It's now at minus 57%. We want this number, like, this number will keep going up. It goes up to 12, which is to say our odds of capturing it get higher and higher. At some point, the number will become a positive percent chance, and then every time there will be a siege phase, there will be that percent chance that the fort just, like, surrenders and flips to us. So now, we're going to be sieging Constantinople and Serbia's capital, Branicevo. And, if you look again, actually I'll just leave this running. If you look again, Nice is no longer occupied by us. That is because it was in the range of a fort that is fully maintained, and the fort's influence will remove occupation from any provinces it touches that doesn't have an army on it, unless the fort itself is being besieged, which it is not, for I went to go for the capital. Note that forts do not unsiege other forts, no matter what level the forts are. And now we are sieging 2 forts at the same time, which is normally not that good of an idea because we never destroyed Athens or Serbia's armies. But right now we are the Ottomans, and I am very confident that our armies will prevail while we just wait on these sieges. And you can see Constantinople has actually been falling fairly quickly now. We're already at 5 progress. Again, this may be different for you guys. And also where I encourage you to explore these tooltips at your leisure. But for now, the siege is already at 0%. You can see that we're doing a really, really good job sieging this fort of Constantinople. It's because we have breached the walls, and there's a lot of modifiers to siege, which again I recommend that you look into at your own time. There's pop-up tooltips over everything, and we get another event that we simply do not care about for now. Again, feel free to read them and to learn about them and to familiarize yourself with the decisions. I realize that during my regular playthroughs I tend to dismiss these events a lot because I've experienced them so many times. Again, I'm going to dismiss all of these because they're irrelevant noise to our current tutorial run. A siege of Constantinople. Oh, there we go. It was at 35%. And on a 35% chance, the fort of Constantinople has surrendered to our majestic 15-stack army, which means Constantinople is now occupied by us. Here you can see it says occupied by you, which is us. You can also see in the province that Korsun claims Byzantium considers this to be one of their core, it is part of their heartland, but we have a little green shield on it, which says that we have a claim, so we like to think that this land should be ours, and which is why we're working towards it. So now that the siege is finished, we'll take our army and we'll give it another order. We'll go over down to the southern tip of Greece and we'll visit Athens. You can see that taking Constantinople has affected this shield down here, which is the fact that we are at war. This is what it looks like. Whenever you're at war, you can have multiple wars, you can all have more than one. Each war will be showed up as a shield with a number. This number is how much you are winning on a scale from -100 to +100. So here we're winning at 41%, which is to say, we are doing pretty damn good. And this yellow horse, it can be either green, yellow, or red, and it is how willing Byzantium is to continue the war. Which means right now, Byzantium is not very willing, but he's still like, I can still fight this, I'm not dead yet. But when the horse turns yellow is when you can start looking into maybe extracting peace out of him. So let's have a look. Let's click on the shield. Here you can see the state of the war with more detail, if you need more detail. The option that interests us right now is here. The upper right corner. Selecting this option will allow you to offer a peace deal to your enemy. So we're going to click on this. And we're going to see that this is the peace deal menu. One of my favorite aspects of EU4 in general for warfare, I should say. And you can see that this is the war, the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople. We have 41% war score. And there are many, many tabs of options that we can take, that we can cycle through. Many, many things we can demand of our foe. We're going to go to the first tab, which is Cede the Provinces. And we're going to tell Byzantium that we would very much like to have Constantinople. If we click on it, you can see that Byzantium will refuse this peace deal. And it tells you exactly why. Like currently, actually it's interesting, because we are winning and like by like 65 points, but he is refusing for 65 reasons. If we have one more reason than they do, like if we are positive 66 versus their 65, they would accept this peace deal right now, which is excellent for us. I'm going to close this for now and continue the war, for he has not surrendered according to our desires yet, so we're going to unpause and continue this war. And thankfully, now that we have crushed the Serbian and Athenian armies, they have not bothered us again. So we're going to keep sieging Serbia. Oh hey, Byzantium is now at low enthusiasm. Suddenly he doesn't feel like he can win anymore. So I'm going to pause again. I'm going to click on the war again, and I'm going to go back to the peace menu. And suddenly, he accepts by quite a wide margin, which means that I could even demand more things out of Byzantium. Like for example, Athens. But if I click on Athens, you can see that suddenly there's a -1000, which means I cannot demand Athens without occupying any forts in the area, which is true. I occupy the fort of Constantinople, but not the fort of Athens itself, or the Byzantine fort of Moria down south. So I cannot get either of these three provinces. I can only get Constantinople, and you can see that I cannot make any demands from Serbia, because I do not control any of it. Which is fine by us. We went to war because we wanted Constantinople, and Byzantium is giving it to us. Now one thing I like to do in this sort of war as well is click this little plus icon here, which is to say how much money we also want to extract out of Byzantium for this war, which is to say, Byzantium, you owe us war reparations. Well, in this case, it's not war reparations. There is actually the option called war reparations. But I'm going to extract straight up direct war, a war cost, and I see, like, as I keep clicking, the number keeps going up because it costs war score to demand money, but he's still willing. So I'm going to keep clicking, and you can see through the window that he still accepts until, oh, now he no longer accepts. See, it became an X. So I'm going to click back down one. So for 68 ducats and Constantinople, Byzantium accepts peace. So he will pay me to give me Constantinople and then sign a peace treaty with the mighty Ottoman empires. So we're going to send this demand. And then we wait a single day. And Byzantium has accepted. We pause again. Victory for the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople. I will close this. It tells me nicely how the war went. We lost about 10,000 men. They lost 15,000. In other words, we demolished them. So we're going to close this. And it tells us that Byzantium accepted our generous peace offer. So we're going to click Fine. Now, if you look at Constantini, yes, it changes name because now it's in the hands of someone who is of proper Turkish culture. You can see that Constantinople still has only the green Ottoman claim, unlike the Byzantine core, which is also still present. And this is in contrast to any other province we own, which has a full shield, which is a core. There is a distinction between the two. Cored land is land you can exact more taxes and more manpower and more resources out of than essentially owned provinces. Owned provinces are actually effectively worthless. So we have got to click on Constantinople, or Constantini as it rightfully should be called. And you're going to see that there's a big plus here that is called Make Core. Normally, you would click on this button, and then the game asks you if you want to confirm the cost. The cost is an administrative power, which is this number up here, which accumulates over time. I'll go into more detail later, but for now we actually will not fill out Constantinople by coring it this way, for a very specific reason. For we are the Ottomans, and now I will bring your attention to this one alert called Mission Fulfilled. You can click on this one, which will open a list of missions that your nation has access to. And in fact, these missions are a very good way to get an idea of what you should be doing, especially at the start of the game, objectives you should give yourself. So, in this case, it tells us, see, you can see that City of the World's Desire is highlighted. There's a reason this is called this way. You can see here, to complete the mission, we need to own Constantini, which we do. And clicking on it will give us defeated the Byzantine Empire, which will give me some bonuses, but it will give me also permanent claims on a couple of these provinces down here. So I'm going to click on it. And now that I have completed it, oh, it didn't do it. Never mind. It used to be that completing this mission would give you a permanent core on it. I believe there might be a different mission, which is actually now a good time to show you how to access this mission menu normally without the tooltip being present. If you click on your shield in the upper left corner of the screen, it will give you what they call the country view, which is essentially a laundry list of options that I encourage you to explore at your leisure. Normally by default it shows your court. But in our case, we are interested in missions, which is that little flag with the target on top. And here you can see all of the missions that we have access to. Like we have Conquer Greece, which gives us more things. It requires us to own Moria, Achaia, and Athens, which would require a second war. We also have a bunch of other options. I do believe they removed the option to make Constantinople the capital. It's entirely possible. Oh no, wait, never mind. That is in decisions. Right. Different options. So this is missions. Missions give you like visible options for your country that you might want to go after. Not all countries have the same. These missions with the Ottoman shield are only available to the Ottomans, for example. That said, we're going to click on the tab right next to it, Decisions. In Decisions, you can see we have a bunch of decisions with a little envelope with a check mark on it for decisions we could take. These decisions all have different bonuses. I encourage you to explore them because they're all not necessarily beneficial all the time. But in this case, one of them is called Make Constantinople Capital. This decision, it requires us to be at peace, to be Turkish, to be in the Muslim religion group, and to control a bunch of stuff, including Constantini, well, to control it, and to own several other provinces. The distinction between own and control is whether or not there's a core on it. And yes, we have cores on the other 4 provinces because we started with them. So if we mouse over this, if we click on this button, we will gain 1 stability. We will gain a core on Constantini without needing to core it ourselves, which is great. And it will become our capital. And Constantini becomes Turkish, and the religion becomes Sunni, and it gains a lot of value. So we're going to click on that, and now we are the Ottoman Empire. So we're going to click OK, and now if you click on Constantini, there is a proper Ottoman core on it, and see, it has changed. It is no longer Greek Orthodox, it is now Turkish and Sunni. So, you have now conquered your first province, you have won your first war, and now you at least understand, how to at least begin playing Europa Universalis IV. So go forth, my friends, and conquer. I will thank you guys for watching, and if you wish to learn on any more specific topics, please let me know in the comments below. I will be more than happy to do more of these mini tutorial series about things. But for now, hopefully this is a great EU4 primer. See you guys next time.